Aragorn sped on up the hill. Every now and again he bent to the ground. Hobbits go light, and their footprints are not easy even for a ranger to read. But not far from the top a spring crossed the path, and in the wet earth he saw what he was seeking. "I read the signs aright," he said to himself. "Frodo ran to the hilltop. I wonder what he saw there." But he returned the same way and went down the hill again. Aragorn hesitated. He desired to go to the high seat himself, hoping to see there something that would guide him in his perplexities. But time was pressing. Suddenly he leaped forward and ran to the summit, across the great flagstones and up the steps. Then, sitting in the high seat, he looked out. But the sun seemed darkened, and the world dim and remote. He turned from the north back again to north, and saw nothing save the distant hills. Unless it were that far away he could see again a great bird like an eagle high in the air, descending slowly in wide circles towards the earth. Even as he gazed, his quick ears caught the sounds in the woodlands below. On the west side of the river he stiffened. There were cries, and among them, to his horror, he could distinguish the harsh voice of orcs. Then suddenly, with a deep-throated call, a great horn blew, and the blast of it smote the hills and echoed in the hollows, rising in a mighty shout above the roaring of the falls. "The horn of Boromir!" he cried. "He is in need!" He sprang down the steps and away, leaping down the path. "Alas, an ill fate is on me this day. All that I do goes amiss. Where is Sam?" As he ran, the cries came louder, but fainter now, and desperately the horn was blowing. Fierce and shrill rose the yells of the orcs, and suddenly the horn calls ceased. Aragorn raced down the last slope, but before he could reach the hill's foot, the sounds died away. As he turned to the left, he ran towards them. They retreated, until at last he could hear them no more. Drawing his bright sword and crying, "Elendil!" he crashed through the trees. A mile maybe from Parth Galen, in a little glade not far from the lake, he found Boromir. He was sitting with his back to a great tree, as if he was resting, but Aragorn saw that he was pierced with many black-feathered arrows. His sword was still in his hand, but it was broken near the hilt. His horn, cloven in two, was at his side. Many orcs lay slain, piled all about him and his feet. Aragorn knelt beside him. Boromir opened his eyes and strove to speak. At last slow words came. "I tried to take the ring from Frodo," he said. "I am sorry. I have paid." His glance strayed to his fallen enemies. 20 at least lay there. "They have gone. The halflings. The orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them." He paused, and his eyes closed wearily. After a moment he spoke again. "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I have failed." "No," said Aragorn, taking his hand and kissing his brow. "You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fall." Boromir smiled. "Which way did they go? Was Frodo there?" said Aragorn. But Boromir did not speak again. "Alas," said Aragorn, "thus passes the heir of Denethor, Lord of the Tower of God. This is a bitter end. Now the company is all in ruin. It is I that have failed. Vain was Gandalf's trust in me. What shall I do now? Boromir has laid it on me to go to Minas Tirith, and my heart desires it. But where of the ring and the bearer? How shall I find them and save the quest from disaster?" He knelt for a while, bent with weeping, still clasping Boromir's hand. So it was that Legolas and Gimli found him. They came from the western slopes of the hills, silently, creeping through the trees as if they were hunting. Gimli had his axe in hand, and Legolas his long knife. All his arrows were spent. When they came to the glade, they halted in amazement. "Alas," said Legolas, coming to Aragorn's side, "we have hunted and slain many orcs in the woods, but we should have been of more use here. We came when we heard the horn, but too late it seems. I fear you have been deadly hurt." "Boromir is dead," said Aragorn. "I am unscathed, for I was not here with him. He fell defending the hobbits while I was away upon the hill."
"The hobbits!" cried Gimli. "Where are they then? Where is Frodo?"
"I do not know," answered Aragorn wearily. "Before he died, Boromir told me that the orcs had bound them. He did not think that they were dead. I sent him to follow Merry and Pippin, but I did not ask him if Frodo or Sam were with him. Not until it was too late. All that I have done today has gone amiss. What is to be done now?" "First we must tend the fallen," said Legolas. "We cannot leave him lying like carrion among these foul orcs."
"But we must be swift," said Gimli. "He would not wish us to linger."
"We have not the time or tools to bury our comrade fitly, or to raise a mound over him. Let us lay him on a boat with his weapons, and the weapons of his vanquished foes," said Aragorn. "We will send him to the Falls of Rhoros, and give him to Anduin. The river of Gondor will take care at least that no evil creature dishonors his bones." They laid Boromir in the middle of the boat that was to bear him away. The grey hood and elven cloak they folded and placed beneath his head. They combed his long dark hair and arrayed it upon his shoulders. The golden belt of Lorien gleamed about his waist. His helm they set beside him, and across his lap they lay the cloven horn and the hilts and shards of his sword. Beneath his feet they put the swords of his enemies. Then, fastening the prow to the stern of the other boat, they drew him out into the water. They rowed sadly along the shore, and turning into the swift-running channel, they passed the green sward of Parth Galen. The steep sides of Tol Brandir were glowing. It was now mid-afternoon. As they went south, the fume of Rhoros rose and shimmered before them. A haze of gold, the rush and thunder of the falls shook the windless air. Sorrowfully they cast loose the funeral boat where Boromir lay, restful, peaceful, gliding upon the bosom of the flowing water. The stream took him while they held their own boat back with their paddles. He floated by them, and slowly his boat departed, waning to a dark spot against the golden light, and then suddenly it vanished. Rhoros roared on unchanging. The river had taken Boromir, son of Denethor, and he was not seen again in Minas Tirith, standing as he used to stand in the White Tower in the morning, but in Gondor in after days. It long was said that the elven boat rode the falls and the foaming pool, and bore him down through Osgiliath, and past the many mouths of Anduin, out into the great sea at night under the stars. For a while the three companions remained silent, gazing after him. Then Aragorn spoke. "They will look for him from the White Tower," he said, "but he will not return from mountain or from sea." Through Rohan over fen and field where the long grass grows, the west wind comes walking, and about the walls it goes. What news from the west, O wandering wind, do you bring to me tonight? Have you seen Boromir the Tall, by moon or by starlight? I saw him ride over 7 streams, over waters wide and grey. I saw him walk in empty lands until he passed away. Into the shadows of the north I saw him then no more. The north wind may have heard the horn of the son of Denethor. O Boromir, from the high walls westward I looked afar, but you came not from the empty lands where no men are. From the mouths of the sea the south wind flies, from the sandhills and the stones. The wailing of the gulls it bears, and the gate it moans. What news from the south, O sighing wind, do you bring me at eve? Where now is Boromir the fair? He tarries, and I grieve. Ask not of me where he doth dwell, so many hours there lie, on the white shores and the dark shores under the stormy sky. So many have passed down Anduin to find the flowing sea. Ask of the north wind news of them, the north wind sends to me. O Boromir, beyond the gate, the seaward road runs south, but you came not with the wailing gulls from the grey sea's mouth. From the Gate of Kings the north wind rides, and past the roaring falls, and clear and cold about the tower its loud horn calls. What news from the north, O mighty wind, do you bring to me today? What news of Boromir the bold, for he is long away? 'Neath Amon Hen I heard his cry, there many foes he fought. His cloven shield, his broken sword, they to the water brought. His head so proud, his face so fair, his limbs they laid to rest, as Rhoros, golden Rhoros falls, bore him upon its breast. O Boromir, the tower of guard shall ever northward gaze, to Rhoros, golden Rhoros falls, until the end of days.